Turning now to an important story. What defines a democracy? Well, the usual definition is a government run by the people, so the population makes decisions through votes and elected representatives. Now, by that definition, the U.S. is a very new democracy because the entire population wasn't allowed to truly vote until the end of the civil rights era. After sustained and painful protests like Bloody Sunday, when Martin Luther King and John Lewis risked their lives to lead that 1965 march and lead a movement that fortified voting rights, finally, under federal law. Experts remind us only then did the U.S. get closer to total eligibility for voters. And while the blatantly racist voting laws were tossed in the courts, many states found other insidious ways to restrict voting, operating with similar outcomes, a trend Republicans are pushing harder since Trump lost, as you see here, over 250 bills across 43 states to restrict voting access in different ways. Now, House Democrats say they're responding to all of this with their new bill this week that they passed, enhancing voting rights, making it easier to vote. And there's really one fair way to say this. The House bill is not required by the Constitution. For example, you have the right to vote. You don't have an automatic right to vote 2 weeks before Election Day. But that kind of option has obviously helped a lot more people participate in recent elections, including a pandemic one. So opposing that kind of policy, it just means you're making it harder to vote and probably lowering participation. For Republicans, that goal is to find a competitive edge over Democrats by making it harder to vote. Now, if that sounds bad or controversial or even guilty, it's literally what a top Republican lawyer just admitted under oath this week at the Supreme Court.
What's the interest of the Arizona RNC here in keeping, say, the out-of-precinct ballot disqualification rules on the books?
Because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats. Politics is a zero-sum game.
Yikes. That's bad, what he just admitted. Now, lawyers will often say things that a lot of people wouldn't. Believe me. And most Republican politicians and pundits, they won't even admit that. So they've begun attacking this House bill that just passed on voting, which is headed to the Senate, on different grounds, which are not true, like falsely equating better voting access to cheating.
This bill would not only make it easy to cheat, it would effectively make it legal to cheat.
It would destroy the integrity of our elections in this country forever. It will institutionalize and pretty much guarantee fraud in future elections.
They should really rename this bill to the Boston Bomber Bill.
Look, most of those attacks, they're misdirection. But the larger issue here follows a long history of using policy and power, not just words, to attack your voting rights, to attack Black Americans' access to the polls. We know the history. It's something the late Gil Scott-Heron very eloquently addressed in his view of the Black American experience back in 1991.
I think that the Black Americans have been the only real diehard Americans here. We're the ones who marched. We're the ones who carried the Bible. We're the ones who carried the flag. We're the ones who tried to go through the courts. And being born American didn't seem to matter because we were born Americans, but we still had to fight for what we were looking for.
They had to fight. We're joined now by Bishop William Barber, president of the Repairers of the Breach, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. He's leading a Bloody Sunday commemoration this weekend. Thank you for being here. I'm curious your reflections on this first Bloody Sunday without John Lewis and on, among other things, Mr. Gil Scott-Heron's point about the Black American experience.
You know, thank you so much, Ari. I've been thinking today as I watched the legislature block living wages and the Republicans try to block health, voting rights. I've been thinking about the scripture in the Bible, Isaiah 10, woe unto those who legislate evil and rob the poor of their rights. But I also been thinking about my hip hop gospel, the ghetto gospel, where Tupac said it ain't about black or white because we human. I hope we see the light before it's ruined. The truth of the matter is, you know, we're without John and with so many more, Amelia Boynton, but their spirits are still with us. And what they're saying to us is, we cannot stop this fight. Today, as we talk today, Ari, it's been 2,800 plus days since the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. It's been 70 plus years, over 7 years, since the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act. And it's a new form of interposition and nullification. I helped lead the effort in North Carolina for the worst voter suppression bill after the Shelby decision. And one of the Republican senators said today that the Shelby decision came down, now that the headache has been removed, we can do what we want to. But Ari, there's one other layer to this. It's not just about Black voters. At the end of the Selma to Montgomery March, Dr. King gave a sermon we ought to all go back. And he said that every time there was the potential for the Negro masses and the white masses to vote together, to build coalitions, the aristocracy of the South sowed division, created segregation, created suppression because of their fear that if Black and white came together in power to vote, they could reconstruct the American democracy and build a beloved community. So while voter suppression is targeted at Black, brown, and indigenous people, it's actually targeted at democracy, because every state that is a voter suppression state is a high poverty state, a low healthcare state, a low wage state. And the truth of the matter is, those that get elected by racist voter suppression, the irony is when they pass public policy, they pass policies that in raw numbers hurt more white people than Black people. In percentage-wise, it hurts more Black people, but in raw numbers, it actually hurts more white people.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.